Everybody, welcome back to Movies and That. I'm your host Cody, and today we're going to be ranking the Friday the 13th franchise. So with Friday the 13th coming up this Friday, I had to do it. So we're releasing this on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is my second favorite horror series, or horror franchise, should I say, right behind Halloween. And I'm excited to go ahead and go through what I hate, what's okay, and what I like. So let's go ahead and get started. And I am going to include Freddy vs. Jason in this ranking, so we're going to have 12 movies here instead of 11. So kicking off at number 12, it's Jason Goes to Hell. I am not a fan of this movie. It's a weird movie. In my opinion, they should have blown Jason up, spoiler, blown Jason up at the end of the movie and just made a whole movie building up to that. Building up to that, you could have kept it at the lake. You could have done something cool like that. But no, we get this weird demon possession movie that gives Jason this backstory and lore that gets explored, and it's just all over the place. It really doesn't make sense. Not a Friday the 13th film. It wasn't supposed to be a Friday the 13th film. It was supposed to be a Jason Voorhees story, and that's kind of what we get. But that is my least favorite of this franchise. Now coming in at number 11, it's going to be... Now, number 11 and number 10, they can change at any time, to be honest. Really, the next three could. But currently, right now, at number 11, it is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. When I was younger, I used to like this movie a lot more. I thought it was fun, going to New York City and all that, and I really didn't care for Jason being on the boat. But as I've gotten older, as I've grown to appreciate this franchise a lot more, yeah, this movie's just not good. It's marketed completely wrong, obviously. Jason takes a cruise. We're on this cruise ship with this graduating class, senior trip or whatever. And you think there's going to be tons of people on there and we're going to get tons of kills, but for some reason, 75-80% of those kids and people disappear and no one ever questions what happens to them. And Jason's just killing kind of like the core cast. And you get our final girl in this one, Rennie. She is having these like visions of Jason, right? Flashbacks of him and all. It's weird. But Kane Hodder does a good job as Jason. And when we get to New York City with, him going through the city, that looks pretty cool. There's some cool scenes in there. But that doesn't do enough to save this movie. So with that being said, Friday the 13th, Part 8 is my number 11. Now coming in at number 10, it's going to be Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Recently just watched this the other day, and I've come to appreciate this movie a little bit more. The copycat really doesn't bother me. I like the opening, how it's kind of like what they did with Jason Lives, but it's younger Tommy watching these grave robbers or diggers dig up Jason, and Jason comes back to life. That's kind of cool at the beginning, and then we, fast forward into the future. Tommy's getting out of the psych ward. He's going to this halfway house with a bunch of other, crazy people. And there's this copycat killer that goes on a rampage that we find out is a father of one of the halfway house teenagers or people that gets murdered there. So he takes out his frustration and gets revenge on all of them and others people around Crystal Lake. And that's really what we get. Tommy really doesn't do a whole lot, honestly, in this movie. It's really Reggie the Reckless and Pam that take down Roy, the copycat killer. So, yeah. Never been a huge fan of that, but it has moved from last place up to 10. But coming at number 9 is going to be Jason X. Jason X, very fun time for me, especially when we get to the space station or the spaceship and he's going through there, just laying waste in space. Really what he's doing. We get that awesome, gnarly liquid nitrogen head smash kill that he does when they reawaken him. The only thing that just gets me is like at the beginning, it's pretty cool how he is captured and locked up and they're doing all those experiments on them and stuff like that. Then he breaks free. He gets frozen in the cryogenic chamber. And then there's an accident where he somehow cuts through the door with his machete, which makes no sense. freezes him, freezes our final girl in this, and then just no one ever comes back. No one ever rescues him or does anything, and then Earth, the end of the world happens on Earth, and yeah, and they find Jason hundreds of years later, and this is where we get him. And we get Terminator Jason, which is a fun time, but we only get like 10 minutes of him. But Jason X, I can enjoy it every now and then. Now, coming in at number 8, it's going to be the original, Friday the 13th from 1980. When I first watched this as a kid, I really liked it, and as I've gotten older with a lot of these movies, my opinions change. This is one of them. This used to be one of my favorites. Now it is mid-pack. Really is, I mean, it's lower than mid-pack. Just, I don't know. I really don't care about the characters in this. The kills really aren't that great. And Pamela Voorhees, she's okay. She's definitely cynical, but the reveal doesn't do it for me anymore. And that whole fight between her and Alice is just kind of annoying. It just is. So yeah, Friday the 13th, 1980, the original, coming in at number 8. Now, coming in at number 7 is Freddy vs. Jason. So I did say I was including this one in my ranking. Yeah, I mean, as they bring in the Friday the 13th and the Jason elements, I think they do a really good job. I like Jason in this, even though I wish we had Kane Hodder. But we get a good Jason. He is really brutal. Great kills. The way they incorporate Camp Crystal Lake is pretty cool. It's really good cinematography at the camp. We kind of get a backstory of him as well, and getting like into his subconscious and into his dreams and things like that, which is pretty wild. I just hate how they make him afraid of water when he really isn't. But yeah, Freddy vs. Jason is a middle of the pack movie in this franchise. I have a fun time with it for both Freddy and for Jason. In my opinion, they do a little bit more with the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy side of things than they do Friday the 13th and Jason, but is what it is. So yeah, Freddy vs. Jason at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is going to be the Friday the 13th remake, Friday the 13th 2009. And I used to hate this movie. I really did. I want to say maybe back in, I don't know, when it came out. I could not stand the characters, especially Trent. I didn't think Jason was all that great, but maybe just because I really didn't give it a chance. But as I've gotten older, as I've watched more of it, I like what they did with Jason here. He is a human still. He is living at Camp Crystal Lake, which I love how they keep that in there. He's setting traps. He's capturing people. He's killing people. Stay away from the camp. Get off his land, right? Get off his yard. And he's got the sack at first, then he finally finds his mask, and he looks great in it. He looks great in both the sack and the mask. So I think they did a really good job with Jason. If they would have gave us better characters, maybe a better story, this would be a lot higher than number 6. But it's still a decent movie for me, and I like it more and more each time I watch it, but I don't think it's going to climb much higher than 6. Now, number 5 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 3. I used to like this movie. It was probably maybe my 2 or 3. But it's kind of grown on me a little bit in terms of the quality is really not there. I really don't care about the characters. Chris is the only one I really do care about. And yeah, Jason gets his mask here. But other than that, it's really no different than Part 2 in terms of like the kills and everything. Not really a fan of Higgins Haven either. I really don't like that setting. Doesn't really feel like Camp Crystal Lake or that area, so really doesn't do it for me that much anymore. But I do like the final act. The third act in this movie is great. But that being said, it's coming in at number 5. Now, number 4 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 2. I've always liked Part 2. I've always liked Jenny as a final girl. She's one of my favorite final girls in the series. She does a great job, taking Jason down at the end. That third act is great. The characters overall, I think, are great. They're likable. The setting, it's still in the Crystal Lake area. I think that's a really good setting for it. And it still feels like it's a classic Friday the 13th. So, yeah, great movie. I always have a great time watching it. And, yeah, so coming to number 4, Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, number 3, we have Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. As goofy as this is, with the whole Jason versus Carrie with Tina and her telepathy powers taking on Jason, I think they took a chance on doing something different, and they did a good job on doing it. I like the fight between Tina and Jason. We got Jason full-on zombie mode here. I love the look of him. He is kind of scary, for sure, but he does a kick-ass job. And the characters are okay, but they're definitely not the worst in the franchise. They're fine. The kills they get are cool. I wish the MPAA would have kept the gore up. Let that gore be in there, because I think this would have been a lot better movie if we would have got to see more of those kills, but unfortunately we didn't. But yeah, Part 7, man, I really do have a good time with. That's why it's number 3. And then coming in at number 2, Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter. Yeah, this used to be, I mean, it's never really fallen for me, but it's really never gone up. It's pretty much stayed at 2 consistently for me. My opinion, it is the scariest version of Jason. He's still kind of human, I guess. Maybe he died in Part 3, I'm not sure, but he seems more brutal. He seems more pissed and amped up, and definitely scary. We get Tommy in here with Corey Feldman, who does a great job. We get Trish, who is a great final girl, one of the best in the series. The characters with Crispin Glover and the rest of his crew, I think, are funny, and they're likable, and they're cool. And the kills are great. And the setting is okay, too. So everything I want in a Friday movie with these, at least my top 4 and 5, I get with these ones. And that definitely is evident in Part 4, which is my number 2, and my number 1, which is coming up right now. And my favorite movie in the Friday the 13th franchise is Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. So Jason Lives, it gives me everything I want in a Friday movie. I think we got the best version of Jason across the board in terms of his look, his mannerisms, his kills, his style. Everything about Jason in this one checks the boxes for what I want out of Jason Voorhees. As for the other characters, kind of dumb, but you got Megan and her crew, which returns to Camp Crystal Lake as camp counselors. We got kids there. It's kind of like it's the only one with an actual like camp setting with kids and all that in it, which is cool, and I like that. We got the police really in this one with Sheriff Garris and his deputy. Wherever the red light goes, you bang. So all of that, it ties in very good together. It's a little goofy at times, but it's definitely the flashy MTV kick-ass kind of Friday movie, and it delivers on that. We got Alice Cooper with the great soundtrack in here, and Tommy, this is my favorite, Tom Matthews, my favorite version of Tommy Jarvis. He's balls to the wall, kind of nuts, but he just resurrected Jason, and he needs to kill him. No one believes him, so he's doing it on his own. He's got this hot girl Megan with him, and they fight, and it's a great final act, and everything in between, the beginning of him being resurrected and when he drowns in that lake, I think is fantastic. I always love watching it, and I'll be watching it on Friday for Friday the 13th. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed my ranking here. I'll be doing more of these rankings as time goes on. So have a happy Friday the 13th, and please like the video, comment your ranking down below, and subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of your day.